I wrote a book a few years ago about what social democracy has done to this country. Because the first social democratic prime minister of Sweden was Per Albin Hansson, one of our welfare state's founding fathers, sort of a Mount Rushmore type figure. And he was elected in 1932. Now, Hitler rose to power in 1933, and the build-up of the Swedish welfare state went hand in hand with the build-up of Nazi Germany. And this has to do with Sweden's special brand of social democracy, which I think it has been successful in spreading all over the world. Because socialists, unlike libertarians or conservatives, are actually quite good at working together across borders, which is to our detriment and their success. The Swedish social democracy, one of the oldest in the world, their house philosopher is from the early 1900s, Axel Hägerström. He was a nihilist, a value nihilist, as they say, which makes the socialists of this country mostly pragmatist. It's hard to discuss things like principles or metaphysics with people who look at the world in materialist terms alone. And Sweden has always been Germany's biggest, Germany has always been Sweden's biggest export market, 20%. Still 20% has been for over 100 years. So it's not so strange, but I think most Swedes, my book that I wrote, it's called This is a Swedish Tiger. It's the original tiger looked like this. Can you see it?
Yes.
This is a Swedish tiger. And this is my parody. And as you can see, it is not exactly the same as the original. Regardless.
YouTube, that's for educational purposes. That right there, what you just saw on the screen, that's for educational purposes, guys. This is an educational organization and an educational YouTube channel.
Don't worry, I have won 2 court cases, actually 3 court cases about this already. So it's and it's a joke, really, because the animal tiger is not natural to our fauna. The elk would be more logical, but the word tiger in Swedish has a double entendre. It can mean both the animal tiger and the imperative word, or just a verb to be silent.
Right.
It was really a message to the Swedish populace from their government during the war to keep silent about the cooperation with Nazi Germany. There's another old Swedish joke, which is Sweden was neutral during the war. Until 1943, we were neutral on Hitler's side, and after 1943, we were neutral on the Allied side, which is kind of a fun joke in Sweden, but also not true. As I show in my book, Sweden went on with their dealings with Nazi Germany until late 1944, when the war was pretty much all but over.
The Allies circling in, taking every bastion of Axis territory they could at that point.
Exactly. And I think, had you asked most people in Sweden from 1933 up until 1944-45, they would have said that, of course, they were on Germany's side, and maybe they liked Nazism, maybe they didn't like Nazism, but Germany, that was our second language. If a Swede in those days spoke a second language, it was probably German. And after 1945, we did 180 degree and everyone learned English. So, it's quite fascinating how fast things can move in hockey, as you say in my country. I wrote about what the Swedes did during the Second World War. I wrote about what they did from 1974 and onwards, when Olof Palme, our great and last of our founding fathers on the Swedish Mount Rushmore, when he connected with Yasser Arafat and actually became the first Western prime minister in their official capacity to welcome Arafat, and he met him just before an important speech Arafat held at the UN, which pivoted the Palestinian cause from an Arab-Israeli issue to a Palestinian-Israeli issue, which was funded in part also by the Soviet Union, who wanted to rebrand the entire conflict to better align with the uprisings they were funding in Africa against colonial powers. What happened was that police kicked down the door of my publisher and confiscated 1.5 tons of these books. And then I was prosecuted for 2.5 years almost for apparently copyright infringement.